All right. Hey, everybody. This is my first episode of this podcast. I'm going to be talking about my Ironsworn campaign. It's called The First City. So this is my player character, Lucia. She's 19 years old, descended from those who betrayed and invaded the old world. So this detail about my character is actually inspired by one of the quest starters in the rulebook. It talks about how your character is descended from the Skulda, and as a result, you're not very trusted by people because the Skulda were the clans that invaded the old world. So that's not great. As a result of this, my character, Lucia, is an outcast from Ironlander society. Like, people don't trust her. As for my player character's stats, her highest score is Edge, 3 Edge, 2 Iron, 2 Wits, 1 Heart, 1 Shadow. Considering that her highest score is in Edge, which is related to ranged combat, I figured that it would make sense for her to use a bow and arrow. So her weapon of choice is the bow and arrow. So yeah, that's it for my player character. Actually, I guess the most important thing, every character starts out with a background vow. Lucia's background vow is to found the first city of the Ironlands. That is also inspired by a quest starter from the Ironsworn rulebook. There's a quest starter about kind of having dreams of a majestic city, and nothing like that exists in the Ironlands. So it's kind of your destiny to found that city and to rule that city. Her background vow is to found the first city of the Ironlands, hence the title of the campaign, The First City. All right, so let's start session 1. So I started off with an oracle roll. So I imagined my character starting off in a forest, and I needed a name for the forest. I did this weird thing where I actually came up with 2 different names for the forest. So one is like, I guess, the English name or the Ironlander name for it, which is Bleakwood Forest. But I also wanted it to have kind of a more like ancient, like kind of a native name for it. So I rolled in the Oracle table, and okay, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna create a podcast illusion magic. So as you can see, I've already played through this session. It's already recorded, and you can see the dice roll value on the screen. So there's no, there's no illusion here. Like you know exactly what the outcome is gonna be. But for the sake of just audio magic, I'm going to pretend to roll the dice every time we have a dice roll, just so that there's kind of an auditory, like, demarcator, I guess, that, we're doing something here. So, all right, so this first roll, we got a 31 on the elf names table, and that is Kinzura. So yeah, so that's what I called the forest. That's one of the names of the forest. As you can see here, I wrote a little prologue. So I grew up reading like epic fantasy novels. So growing up, like I loved the Wheel of Time series, A Song of Ice and Fire, which is the Game of Thrones series. I loved stuff like that. So fantasy was one of my favorite genres growing up as a kid. So I'm very into like epic fantasy, epic prologues. So this kind of a preliminary prologue was very much inspired by a series like that. I won't read it aloud right now because I'm already feeling self-conscious, and I have plenty more to read after this. So I'm gonna let you, if you're interested, read this prologue yourself. So all right, let's move on. This is just a prologue anyway. It just kind of sets the scene, but the real action, the real plot starts right after this. Okay, so I have another oracle roll here. So I tend to not use oracles too much when I play solo, actually, because I tend to just want to come up with ideas in my head and just use those versus rolling, like asking a question and rolling for yes or no, that kind of stuff. And so I tend to be fairly oracle light when it comes to playing, but I do want dice rolls and oracles to be involved. And so what I'm going to try to do is for each session, at the start of the session, I'm going to roll on the Ironsworn action and theme table. So that's 2 different tables. I'm going to roll on both of those, and I'm going to put them together. And whatever that phrase is that comes out of that, I'm going to try to incorporate that phrase as much as I reasonably can in the story of that session. So for this first one, let me go back to my my prop dice. Oh, I dropped one on the floor. I don't know if that's going to be audible on the podcast. But yes, so I got a 90 on the action table, which is reduce, and then 15 on the theme table, which is secret. So the phrase we have is reduce secret. So something about reducing secrets. So we're going to try to incorporate that into our story as much as we can. Okay, so I said I didn't want to go full audiobook, but I think it would be harder for me to not. Like, I already wrote all this stuff down, and so it would just be easier for me to read this rather than just like making stuff up as I go. So here we go. 93 years after the fall. Bleakwood Forest was a dense tangle of ancient trees straddling the border between the western side of the Havens and the eastern edge of the deep wilds. After those who soon came to call themselves Ironlanders first washed ashore on this continent, sea-soaked refugees from a burning land, they and their descendants traveled far and wide across the vast peninsula, laying claim to its contents by establishing settlements and imposing new names upon age-old landmarks. They called this forest Bleakwood, a grim epithet intended for an ominous place, but its native name was Kinzura, an elfin word roughly translating to home of the ancients. That's a lie, by the way, I just made that up. For Lucia, it didn't really matter what the forest was called. What mattered for her was that it offered the sanctity of a chapel and the privacy of a confessional. Kinzura was where she went when she wanted to be alone, or at least more alone than she already often was. It was a place dark enough to hold her secrets. And as you can see, we were able to get the secrets part at the very end. So as I said, I wanted to get this Oracle theme in there. And yeah, we got it. We got it right here. We talked about secrets. So we're already on a good track there. All right. So that's just setting the scene. Oh, and then this takes place, as I said, 93 years after the fall. So, you know, a couple generations after the old world fell is when this story is taking place. All right. But now that all of that kind of exposition is out of the way, let's start to get things moving. So, all right. It was cold that day, with a damp stillness that hinted at incoming snow. But apart from that, there was a strange feeling in the air, a subtle wrongness that sent a chill up Lucia's spine. Standing stock still but holding her elmwood bow ready at her side, she slowly scanned the surrounding trees and strained her ears to hear something, anything, through the silence. So here's me trying to force our inciting incident. We're in the forest and something has to happen, so I'm saying that there's a strange, ominous feeling in the air. We don't know what it is. We'll find out soon. So Lucia gets a bad feeling, and so she's trying to kind of scout the area out and figure out what's wrong. And with that, we have our first move. Our first move is secure an advantage. And we use that move because we are assessing a situation through observation. And because we're using observation, we're going to use our wits score, our wits stat. So let me, you can see the number, if you're watching the video, you can see the numbers right there. But to maintain the illusion, the auditory illusion, let's roll the dice here. All right. So we got a 5 on our action die. And that, so 5 plus 2 wits equals 7. So our action score is 7. Our challenge dice are 2 and 3, very low, very lucky. So we got a strong hit. Nice. Great start. So we got a strong hit on our first move, and the result of that is that we get +2 momentum. So we go from 2 to 4 momentum. All right, cool. So we succeeded. So what does that mean for us next? And so there, in the distance, the snapping of twigs and the crunch of leaves and other forest detritus being crushed underfoot betrayed the presence of an interloper, someone or something lumbering through the trees, bereft of the natural grace of any creature that actually belonged there. Okay, so there's something in the forest, something suspicious. Years of chasing elusive game across the hilly scrubland of the Havens had made Lucia quick, and she used this hard-won agility now to silently bound toward the source of the noise. I really want to explain. I really want to make it clear that she has high edge, people. She has she has a high edge score. She has high quickness, high agility. So all right. As she got closer, she was surprised to see not a ruthless raider, but a young man, perhaps only a few years older than she, dressed in fine clothes, stumbling around and looking lost. Lucia stopped in her tracks before he had a chance to notice her. All right, so Lucia has spotted this guy, this young man, and now she's just watching him, keeping an eye on him. Like, why is he here? All right, here we go. The man's handsome leather boots, dark pants, and luxurious fur-lined coat provided a stark contrast to Lucia's practical but shabbier attire, and his soft features and blundering manner indicated an existence spent enjoying the comforts of town life rather than learning how to survive in the unforgiving wilderness. So this guy's a softie, basically. So he's not tough, not like Lucia. A lifetime's worth of harsh experience had hammered into Lucia a bias toward caution, but something about the young man's lanky frame and helpless demeanor told her she didn't have much to fear. "You're a long way from the settlements," she called out while keeping her distance. The man whipped around to face her, his eyes wide with alarm. He had been startled at hearing an unfamiliar voice suddenly ring out from the surrounding woods. Upon seeing that the voice belonged to a young woman who looked no older than himself, his fear diminished, though a decent amount of wariness still remained. Oh, you guys, there's like a long... there's a lot of text here. It's a lot of dialogue, though, so I was hoping that would kind of make things better. All right, so they're going to have a back and forth here. "I've lost my way," he called back, his voice unsteady with exertion and anxiety. Gentle but frightened eyes stared at her from beneath the mop of black hair. Here I was trying to make sure I included some description, just so you have some idea of what this person looks like. "The nearest town is 4 leagues from here," Lucia replied coldly. "It must have been an incredible bout of misfortune that brought you so far from civilization." "I was traveling home after a visit to the hinterlands. I was accompanied by," here the young man faltered, "by friends," he recovered and continued on. "We were following the edge of Bleakwood Forest when we were attacked by bandits. They killed my friends. I fell off my horse and escaped by running into the woods." So here I'm just trying to inject a little bit more flavor, reminding you that we're in the Ironlands. This is an established location, and one of the areas of the Ironlands is the hinterlands. I purposely had this guy kind of stutter a little bit. Once again, playing into the Oracle theme I mentioned earlier about reducing secrets. I wanted this guy to be kind of secretive, like, maybe you get the feeling that he's hiding something. So that's why he kind of like stutters, like maybe he's not being fully truthful with this story. All right, he looked at Lucia now with a spark of renewed hope in his eyes. "Can you help me?" he asked. "You are familiar with this area, are you not? Please help me leave and get home." Lucia stared at him, thinking silently. She held an antipathy toward most Ironlanders. She did not consider herself one, though she had been born on the continent the same as the rest of them. She had no desire to lend them any aid. And yet, her mother and father had not raised her to withhold help from those in need, and though her parents were now gone, and Lucia had little belief in any kind of afterlife, her heart felt an undeniable pull to do things that would make them proud. And so, after a few moments of tense silence, she responded to the desperate man. "I can help." "Oh, thank you," the man exclaimed, his exhaustion and anxiety giving way to gratitude and relief. "My family and I will forever be in your debt." Though Lucia felt little patience for the man's awkward bearing and naive disposition, she had to admit that he had a kind and honest face. Fate willing, perhaps she wouldn't regret her decision to help him. "What's your name?" she asked as he ran over excitedly to join her. So this is fun, the name pool. So when I first set up this campaign, I rolled on the Oracle table for a name for my main character. The first roll gave me 2 options, which was like Pendry and Shekhar. I didn't like either of those for my main character, so I took a mulligan. So I rolled again, and the second time I got the options Lucia and Cormac. So obviously I chose Lucia for the name of my player character, but I did feel bad about taking a mulligan. I try not to do that. Because if you're just going to re-roll, then like what's the point of even rolling at all, is how I feel. But names are a little bit different because it's not like a game mechanic. It's flavor, and you should be happy with the names you pick for your characters. Like if you don't like a name, then you shouldn't have to use it. So I compromised by taking a mulligan, but I created this name pool. So basically we're going to put all the names that we roll but don't use into this name pool. And so as we play the game and add more characters, we can pick out of this name pool and use up those names that we skipped before. So, for this character, this NPC, we're going to use one of the names from our name pool, and we're going to choose Pendry. So we're going to take the Pendry out of the name pool. So, Pendry, he gasped out before babbling on enthusiastically. "My home is a bit far from here, 4 leagues, like you said, but if you'd be willing to accompany me, I would ensure that you receive the warmest welcome and... Hold on, shh! Distracted as she had been by her encounter with this odd young man, Lucia had failed to keep her attention on the ominous feeling that had earlier chilled her spine. It had receded for a while, but suddenly it came back in full force, and Lucia's heart shuddered with fearful anticipation. All right, so finally we get another move, and it's actually the same as our first move, our previous move, secure an advantage. So once again, Lucia has this bad feeling, and she's trying to use observation to kind of, observe her surroundings and figure out, like, okay, what's going, like, where's the danger here? What's going wrong? So, all right, so once again, let me get my prop dice, and all right, so that's a 5 plus 2 wits equals 7. Same as last time, actually. So 7 is our action score, and then our challenge dice are a 2 and a 5. So once again, we have a strong hit. Very lucky. So same result as last time. We get plus 2 momentum, meaning we go from 4 to 6 momentum. So, all right, so she succeeds, which means that she hears what is going wrong. So far away, but rapidly getting closer, Lucia heard the deep, rumbling roar of something terrifying and unimaginable. So unimaginable that I didn't know how to describe it myself, and so I just said, oh, it's just scary, and can't even imagine. Okay. Stowing her bow away on her back, she turned to grab Pendry by the arm. We need to run, she commanded, now. They ran, fear and adrenaline spurring them faster than Lucia would have thought possible, but the frightful noise behind them came closer and closer. The trees echoed with the pursuing creature's feral and unfamiliar cries, creating an otherworldly din. A wayward tree root sticking up from the ground caused Pendry to trip, bringing the man to his knees. Lucia stopped and turned to help him, but the delay sealed their fate. Oh man, here we go, you guys. All right. Out of a nearby stand of trees burst a gigantic bear, at least 10 times the size of at least 10 times the size of any bear Lucia had ever seen before. So this bear it's 10 bears big, you guys. It's huge. Terrifying to behold and roaring with rage, the awe-inspiring creature brought to Lucia's mind her father's tales about the elder beasts of the forest, primeval and ungovernable beings who are older than the trees, stronger than magic, and more mysterious than the Ironland's most closely held secrets. Once again, trying to get that secret oracle here, the theme that we rolled earlier. So yeah, so elder beasts, kind of these huge ancient creatures that live in the forest. All right, and we have our first foe. All right, so this is an elder bear. So it's an elder beast who is a bear. Extreme foe rank, so very tough to beat, very scary. All right, so what happens next? Since growing out of childhood, Lucia hadn't given much thought to the possibility of ever encountering an elder beast. If they were even real at all, her father had assured her that they dwelled only in the deep heart of ancient forests like Kinzura. Yet here now, inexplicably, was one in the flesh. All right, so here's the session is almost over, but we've only done 2 moves, and I wanted to fit another one in there, so this is the perfect opportunity for that. She's encountered a scary beast of legend that she never imagined she would see in her life. That's probably pretty stressful, so we're going to do the move Endure Stress, face mental shock or despair. So, the prop dice. All right, that is a 5 plus a 1, which is our heart stat. So 5 plus 1 equals 6. Our challenge dice are 5 and 6, which means for the first time we have a weak hit. So we beat the 5, but we do not beat the 6. And that means that we lose 4 spirits. That's a big chunk. So we go from 5 spirit down to 1. And the end result, or the final piece of narrative as a result of that is, so I said, yet here now inexplicably was one in the flesh, and Lucia's heart, though resolute, quailed in fear at the sight of the monstrous beast. All right, and that is the end of our story. So we got a little, in the blog post, we got a little coming up next preview to get you excited for session 2. Okay, so that's just about it. Hope you enjoyed. Hope that made sense. This was my first time doing this, my first podcast, and it was not scripted, except for all of the things that I scripted here. Except for the audiobook portion. I was just kind of speaking, extemporaneously. So yeah, so hopefully everything I said made sense. Hopefully I was clear. I hope to do this again, because this was pretty fun. Even though I was feeling self-conscious. I'm hoping to do more of this, and you know what they say about anything is that the more you do it, the better you get. So I'm hoping that future podcasts will be even better. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for session 2 of The First City.